Welcome, everyone. We are so pleased to be in a new venue, very close to our old venue. Thank you to our amazing tech team for continuing to support us for the variety of meetings we've held in so many different locations in the last few months. As you know, it is getting darker and getting colder. I saw a forecast potentially of our first snow day or freezing rain day on Thursday. Looks like we may have a weather system coming in. As a reminder, beginning next week on November 15th, there is no overnight parking. And this is to assist with our winter road operations. Very quickly before convening our meeting formally, we also are very pleased to announce that tomorrow, November 8th, is Indigenous Veterans Day. And as we have done for, I think, the past 2 years, Municipal Council and staff, the Royal Canadian Legion, and members of the local Indigenous community will gather for a flag ceremony where municipal flags will be lowered to half-mast in honor and recognition of the thousands of Indigenous members who served, and many of whom were completely unrecognized, if not penalized for their service. So it's an important day for us to recognize, and our Indigenous Advisory Circle is supporting certainly that particular opportunity to mark the day. Of course, as per usual, our Remembrance Day ceremony will be downtown at the Cenotaph in Kemptville, and there are lots of ways to certainly support local veterans, and we'd like to thank Brenda Ward, who once again has outdone herself with the hundreds of hand-crocheted poppies on display. And this earlier this week, Councillor Strakeryan and Councillor Sullivan were able to join Brenda and some KPS grade 6 students under the guidance of teacher Rob Lachance, who added some painted poppy rocks to the poppy displays. So while all of us couldn't be there, we were very, very grateful and appreciative for the incredible dedication and commitment. Finally, just as an FYI, Santa Claus Parade is November 18th. And on Sunday, November 12th, there is the Farmers Market Jack Frost Fair held at the B&H parking lot. There's like never a dull moment for the Farmers Market. They just keep on going all year long. So with that, council colleagues, we will look for a motion for the adoption of the council agenda as presented. Councillor O'Sullivan, Deputy Mayor Barclay, thank you. Any comments or questions on the agenda? I'm not seeing any. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Good, great. Next, I think, do we have a delegation or are we just declaring the month? Land acknowledgement. Thank you. I apologize. Who among us would like to read the land acknowledgement today? Okay, Councillor Sullivan, go ahead.
The municipality of North Grenville acknowledges that the municipality operates on the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe. We honor the historic relationship of the Haudenosaunee and Huron-Wendat peoples to this land. We recognize all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who now call North Grenville their home. We respect and support the need for cultivating a strong relationship with all Indigenous peoples, and we look forward to continuing this conversation and fostering the path towards reconciliation.
Thank you, Councillor O'Sullivan. Now, just quickly, disclosures of interest, council colleagues, in regards to any item on the agenda this evening. Not seeing any, we'll move on. So we do, I think we have Melissa Levesque here. Hi, Melissa. Do you want to come forward for the Women Abuse Prevention Month delegation, please? Thank you. Welcome. You are good. Thank you. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship and Council. My name is Melissa Levesque. I'm the Executive Director of Leeds and Grenville Interville House. Thank you for having me here this evening to speak about the importance of November, Women Abuse Prevention Month, and the services that we provide at LGIH. I would like to start by also thanking you for hosting the flag raising ceremony on November 1st and for being so supportive of the issue of gender-based violence. I unfortunately couldn't attend, but I was so happy to see the great turnout, and I'm so grateful to be able to be here with you all this evening. So I don't know, there's our slides. Oh. So women abuse refers to acts of violence or mistreatment towards women. Forms of abuse include physical, sexual, emotional, psychological, financial, social, and spiritual. Domestic abuse can happen to anyone, no matter your age, background, or socioeconomic status. Abuse often starts subtly and then worsens over time. It takes an average of 7 attempts for a survivor to leave their abuser for good, and leaving is the most dangerous time for a woman in an abusive relationship. Women Abuse Prevention Month serves as a crucial reminder that violence against women is not an isolated problem, but a systemic issue that affects our entire community. This month, we raise awareness about the issue to promote a safer and more inclusive society for women. It provides us with an opportunity to educate ourselves and others about the signs of abuse and how to support survivors. We are not immune to the problem, and becoming more comfortable talking about it and learning about it can help end the stigma that is sadly still associated with abuse. LGIH is the only domestic violence shelter in all of Leeds and Grenville. We cover a large geographical area and provide support to women and children in all communities throughout the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville. When required and space permits, we also accept clients into the shelter from other areas. We often get called from Ottawa, Kingston, to Napanee. Next, I'll talk about our programs. So Leeds and Grenville Interval House, we're often thought of as a shelter, which we are, but we're so much more than that. Our 10-bed emergency residential shelter is a place to heal from the impacts that abuse has on a woman and her children. We provide all basic needs. We have a playroom, a youth room, fenced-in backyard, and staff who make clients their priority. Staff offer supportive counseling, education, and safety planning to women, childcare, referrals, and we've recently started group programming. Residential counselors facilitate a 24/7 crisis line, taking requests for admission into the shelter and providing crisis support to individuals experiencing abuse. LGIH also works with clients who either do not require shelter services or have left the shelter. Outreach staff provide women who have experienced domestic abuse with supportive counseling, safety planning, assistance navigating systems, and referrals and soft handoffs to other agencies. Staff provide knowledgeable housing assistance to ensure that women find safe and affordable housing. This includes things like helping with applications and subsidies, apartment viewings, resolving conflicts with landlords. And one other program that we have is our Children's Witness program. Children's Witness workers provide one-on-one support for children impacted by domestic violence. These supports are often provided either in the shelter or out at schools. We also offer educational and recreational groups for children. One of our most recent successful programs was summer groups that we partnered with Big Brothers Big Sisters to provide for children in the community. Our core funding comes from the Ministry of Children, Community, and Social Services, but of course, like other nonprofits, we do need to supplement that funding in order to operate more effectively. These additional funds typically come from fundraising and donations, and then when available, grants that we apply for. We're so thankful for all of the community support that we have at LGIH. When I started as executive director almost exactly a year ago, I was so amazed with all the businesses and community members that contribute to our success. It really is an area full of such wonderful communities for support. It's been amazing. And now our future. So we dream big at LGIH. Something that we're actively working on is increasing our programming. So this year we have increased our children's groups to run mainly in the summer to kind of take care of all year. So we have groups on PA days, and we'll have a Christmas group to kind of help those children that don't really have very much means to do anything over these holidays and these times off, so we can provide that educational fun. We've started a women's educational support group for outreach clients that aren't in the shelter, and a residential cooking program to help teach them life skills. And we're hoping to increase our children's educational presentations within schools and host more advocacy events as well. For supported transitional housing, first I want to applaud you for your work in turning, I saw the old courthouse here, into 10 new housing units and dedicating 4 of them as supportive housing for those at risk or experiencing homelessness. This is a goal of ours as well at LGIH. We find that finding affordable housing can be so difficult for our clients, which obviously leads to increased stays in the shelter. So developing affordable units and a program where we would bring those residing in the units wraparound supports and ongoing outreach would allow us to assist more families in leaving abusive situations and ensure success in transitioning back into the community for families that are leaving our shelter. And last but certainly not least, we do want to eventually create a social enterprise. So LGIH would love to create additional consistent, sustainable funding so that we can move and grow with the changing needs of our community. So as I mentioned earlier, Women Abuse Prevention Month exists to provide awareness and education about gender-based violence against women in Ontario. And the stats that I have listed here are some of the reasons why this month is so important here in our communities. 39 women and 29 children stayed in our emergency shelter last year, and we did have to turn away 244 women due to a lack of space in the shelter. When we turn women away, we do everything that we can to ensure that they are safe and have somewhere to go. Either that's to another shelter or through resources such as the after-hours homelessness prevention line through the counties. We also offer these women outreach services from LGIH if they're staying in the area. This way we can stay connected and provide supportive counseling and housing support. And the picture on the slide is September's monthly femicide report snapshot that's completed by the Ontario Association of Interval and Transition Houses. They do one of these every month and then also yearly. In September, there were 4 confirmed femicides in Ontario and 2 that were unconfirmed at the time of publishing the report. I actually got October's this morning and there were 9 confirmed. Many municipalities throughout Ontario have declared intimate partner violence an epidemic, the most recent being Sault Ste. Marie, where a mass shooting took place on October 24th and was deemed to be a case of intimate partner violence. 1 woman and 3 children were killed and another woman injured before the shooter, who was the father of the children, took his own life. I want to thank you all for proclaiming November Women Abuse Prevention Month in North Grenville. By working collaboratively, educating the public, and taking a stand against abuse, we can begin to move towards a violence-free society. November, being Women Abuse Prevention Month, is a very busy month for LGIH. All throughout Ontario, interval and transition houses participate in the Wrapped in Courage campaign and ask community members to wear a purple scarf to show their support for survivors of gender-based violence within their community and beyond. And I see a lot of you are wearing yours, which is great. LGIH is proud to be participating in this campaign again this year. Scarves can be purchased through the shelter, through locations in Brockville and Gananoque, and locally at To Be Continued Consignment, Boss Thai Boxing and Fitness, and Get Cronked Fitness Studio. I want to thank you all again for allowing us to host the flag raising ceremony here in North Grenville. And I did see all of the purple scarves in the picture there, which was amazing to see so many people wearing them. We are also in the process of preparing flag raising ceremonies in other communities as well. And I did mention fundraising and donations are required to fill the gaps and allow us to provide a high level of service to our clients. So this November, we're doing our first, I hope, annual Festival of Trees in Brockville from the 24th to the 26th. Community members can purchase raffle tickets to win beautifully decorated Christmas trees that have been donated from businesses and individuals in the community. The 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence is an annual international campaign that begins November 25th, which is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and it ends on December 10th, Human Rights Day. The campaign started in 1991 to speak up against gender-based violence and to renew our commitment to ending violence against women, girls, and 2S LGBTQI+ individuals. Our flag raising in Brockville is going to coincide with the beginning of those 16 days. We will post information to social media, and we will be hosting an event on December 6th to mark the anniversary of the École Polytechnique massacre. This month, we asked the community to wear purple and share our social media posts. And while Women Abuse Prevention Month serves as a reminder that the work that needs to be done, it's also important to remember that addressing this issue requires a year-round commitment. As individuals, we can educate ourselves about the signs of abuse, challenge harmful attitudes and behaviors, and support survivors by providing a safe space for them to share their experiences. On the next slide, I just wanted to take some time to point to some local community organizations that are available to help if someone is dealing with abuse within their home. I won't go through them all, but I do want to tell any woman that may be considering reaching out, whether you're ready to leave, starting to question things within your relationship, or you're just looking for a listening ear, we're here. Our staff provide non-judgmental, client-centered support and can direct you to appropriate resources for your situation. On behalf of Leeds and Grenville Interval House, I want to thank you for your attention and commitment to the advocacy and prevention of violence against women within our community. Thank you for your support and providing me with the opportunity to present on this important topic this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for our delegation? I wanted to point out that, of course, North Grenville has a dedicated part-time victim services liaison. And I know that person is well featured on the victim services website, but that is an individual who specifically is, I think, working with you, or victim services more generally, so that they can support any person who wishes to meet confidentially, just to explore options, certainly without any obligation to do anything other than to potentially initiate a conversation. So I know that that information is not necessarily well featured on our website right now, but will be shortly, and it's well featured on the Victim Services website. So, but it is something that the municipality has committed to over a number of years because we were hearing that Victim Services was having a tough time getting to North Grenville just because of the demand in other parts of the county. So it's important as a council and as a community that there are ways that certainly women can explore options if they are living with violence. So we certainly appreciate that. Well, I just have one question. Just given the number of women you have to turn away, what is the length of a stay in your shelter? So for those women who are able to access 24/7 care.
So typically, I would say up to about 3 months is a general length of stay. It can often take, the first couple weeks or a month for people to even feel comfortable opening up and starting that kind of those conversations with staff and looking to move forward. We have had women stay longer, like 6+ when needed, because of the difficulty of finding housing after.
And is that part of the reason why you're turning so many women away? Is
It definitely
because they
would.
can't find that housing?
It definitely would be. We're not going to turn someone out who's in there to bring someone new in. We need to kind of keep working hard to find housing so that we can move people along, so that we can transition new people in, because those turnaways are simply due to being full, no other reason, just that we only have 10 beds.
10 beds. Okay. So it's 10 beds, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you serve 29 women and 39 children, right, in a year, so then
Yeah.
you are looking at an average stay of 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. And in most cases, are people staying within the county? You sort of in that search for housing, or do people have to go further afield to find housing?
For the most part, people are staying within the counties. We often, with priority housing will apply. It's like Brockville, Prescott, kind of staying around, and then they take whichever they can get first. They'll put in the different areas that they're willing to go. We have had people looking at going out into, you know, Kingston and things like that, but I would say primarily it's staying around here.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Councillor Strachan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much, Melissa, for coming here today. I sit on the board of the Victim Services Leeds Grenville, and we had our AGM just last week, and the number of calls that they receive for related to domestic violence is quite unbelievable, quite shocking, to be honest. And I think it is important that we draw attention to this. And as you say, some work needs to be done throughout the year, but to have a month and an opportunity to talk about this in a public forum such as this, I think is very important. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Council colleagues? Seeing nothing? Thank you again. We really appreciate your work. We're very proud of these purple scarves, and I think they're in abundant supply at to be
Yes.
continued. And is that the primary location in Kemptville? Is to be continued?
Yeah, and then the 2 fitness studios
Oh, the
as
fitness
well.
studios. Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
and we can bring more if they run
Okay,
out.
awesome. All right. Well, thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thanks. So we'll move on, council colleagues. We have a fairly lengthy consent agenda, so I think you can see for yourselves. There's a number of different sets of council minutes, BIA minutes, Rideau Valley Conservation minutes, advisory committee minutes, and significant resolutions, which are down at 11.4. So I'll look for a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the consent agenda. Yes?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to pull an item from the
Sure.
consent agenda.
Okay.
And that would be the BIA minutes of September 27th.
Sounds good. All right. Councillor O'Sullivan? Did you raise your hand?
Yeah, just to move, but with the amendment that we pull that one.
Okay. So of course, it's at the discretion of any council colleague to pull an item from the consent agenda. So we have one that's been pulled, and I should also note under the consent agenda is the declaration of municipal significance for a New Year's Eve event that I think is happening in this very room. So we've just got one amendment this evening, so I'll have Councillor O'Sullivan move. A seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Strachan. And I'll call the vote. All in favor, please. Good, thank you. So Chloe, if you can remind me of BIA minutes, we will deal with that in the appropriate section. All right. So moving on, we do have an update from Corporate Services, I believe of Ms. Preston, and that's in regards to civil marriage services.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. Before you today is a report and presentation with regards to an update to civil marriage services here in the municipality of North Grenville. As council may recall, during COVID-19, the municipality halted services for marriages as to accommodate social distancing and to protect staff and the public. In 2022, a report was brought before council to resume performing marriage services after the pause, and they were resumed for in-house services only. The report presented to you for tonight is to resume off-site services. In a survey conducted of local municipalities, many of our neighbors have returned to off-site services, and we would like to follow suit and allow this service to be extended to the residents and non-residents of North Grenville should they wish. Further, at the time of the survey, we conducted an analysis of fees, and we came, the presentation for you tonight is to update some of the fees to be more in line with those of our neighbors and the trends now for marriage services. As you can see, we are below average in most of the areas, including our licensing fees, our service fees, and in rehearsal fees, should a couple wish to have that. So the proposition before council this evening is to increase the licensing fee, the civil marriage ceremony, and to institute a rehearsal fee as well.
Good. Okay, thank you very much. Council colleagues, any comments or questions here? Certainly my understanding for a mover and a seconder to receive the report titled Civil Marriage Services Information Update 2023 and approve and enact bylaw 10523 to amend bylaw 10215, being a bylaw to adopt schedule of departmental fees and changes for the municipality. Thank you. Councillor Sullivan, Deputy Mayor, thank you. Any comments, questions? Okay, I'll call a vote. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Preston, for getting on top of that fairly quickly. We appreciate it. So next, we'll move on to the Public Works Award, if I'm not mistaken. And we have someone in our audience who's going to come forward. Welcome. Thank you, Ashley, for being here. We appreciate it. And over to you.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. So yeah, this is to award NG 2341, which is to relocate hydro poles in preparation for the expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. Next slide. So like I said, in preparation for the wastewater plant expansion, which is anticipated in the second quarter of 2024. So we released this tender in the month of October, and we received 7 bid submissions for the project. Next slide. This is just a quick overview of what we're going to be doing. So we currently have a hydro pole that's running along the westernmost side of the property, and so that it will be in the future space of where the expansion is going to be. So we are going to relocate it down farther west, pass around the greenfield, and then it'll go along Veterans Way and Honors Way past the dog park, and there's going to be a buried section along Veterans Way. Next slide, please. 7 bid submissions. Carruthers was the lowest bid and compliant bid as well at $215,876.50. And that bid price also includes the contingency allowance of $5,000 and a cash allowance as well for the relocation of bell services of $20,000. Next slide, please. Oh, we missed our conclusion. There we go. So we're looking to award tender NG 2341 for relocation of the hydro poles at the Kempville Water Pollution Control Plant to EC Carruthers and Sons Utility Constructed Limited in the amount of $215,876.50, excluding HST, and to authorize the Director of Public Works to execute the contract. And I'm open for any questions. Thank you.
Ashley, I was just saying to CAO Dunlop, there was such a wide variability there in terms of pricing. I wanted to confirm that the company with the lowest bid was a company that you were familiar with or was seasoned in this sort of work.
Yes, I believe they're doing work already for County Road 43. So, yeah.
So know the area fairly well, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Deputy Mayor Murphy, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to the CAO, in what circumstances in our procurement policy are we not obliged to take the lowest bid?
Thank you for the question, through you, Madam Mayor. The current way our procurement bylaw is written, if it's a tender, we take lowest qualified unless we find a reason to have a legal reason to disqualify them. Looking in the future, we will be looking at updating that policy to make sure that things, some of the construction delays and concerns that we've experienced in the 2023 construction year don't happen again. So we'll do a modified approach. We'll do an RFP/tender modified, similar to the way that the Water and Wastewater Department will be for the next expansion at the wastewater treatment plant. It's not going to be a pure tender. It's not going to be a pure RFP. It's going to be a hybrid of the two.
Great.
Anything else, council colleagues? Okay. So then our motion this evening, forgive me, just navigating screens, is that we, let me see, where are we? Training. Thank you. award tender NG 2341 for relocation of hydro poles at the Kemptville Water Pollution Control Plant, DEC Crothers and Sons Utility Construction in the amount of $215,876.50, and authorize the Director of Public Works or their designate to execute the contract and any other documents as required. Thank you. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councilor Strakian, Councilor Sullivan, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Calling the question. Good. All right, thank you. We appreciate you being here, Ashley. Thank you. All right. I believe now we are going to look to our BIA minutes as the next item that was pulled from consent. And I'll ask Deputy Mayor Barclay to speak to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I decided to pull the minutes of September 27th for council and the community's information, and be happy to answer any questions that council might have regarding them. I just want to point out that currently the board, at least on September 27th, consisted of 4 members: Shelley Mitchell, the chair; Sierra Jones Martel, the treasurer; I act as secretary, and the 4th member is Courtney Vesna. On the 27th, one of the discussion items we had was what we call a municipal budget request. Because council is beginning their 2024 budget process, the BIA was looking to present an ask before the end of November for staff's consideration. So we discussed a number of items under that topic, including some general maintenance and beautification improvements, items related to signage. One of the things we were suggesting that could be considered in the departmental budget would be a banner frame that we could have at the north end or the south end of downtown, so that we could advertise upcoming events like Kemptville Live or Busker Fest. We also were looking to continue the COVID recovery funding in the same amount as the first 2 years, and a reduced grant to Busker Fest. Previously, we were granted $25,000 to help us mount Busker Fest, and in 2024, we'd be looking for $20,000, so a 20% reduction. The other item that we discussed and passed a motion on was our plans to expand the BIA. We had in our 2023 budget a line item that was funded by the municipality called the strategic planning process, and the motion was to take those funds currently allocated towards a strategic plan to create a strategic expansion plan, and that we would strike a committee to advise the board on how to use those funds. So that expansion committee has been struck, but it hasn't been populated yet. So if anyone's interested in finding out more about the benefits to the entire community, let alone the BIA, in expanding the footprint, they're happy. Please, I'd be happy to talk to them. The other item that of note in the minutes was we asked council to appoint Marianne Liang and Nina Tkachuk to the board, which they did in October. So now we are a board of 6, and we're looking forward to their input, and we've already benefited from it. So there, in a nutshell, is a brief overview of where we were at the end of September, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
We appreciate that update. In terms of a potential expansion of boundaries, certainly at this stage, I understand it's being discussed at the BIA board level. When would that effort, if confirmed by the board, be initiated sort of in earnest or in a more formal way?
We're regulated, or it's governed, the process of expanding is governed by the Municipal Act, and it's similar to, in process, to the way we handle applications through the planning department. There has to be legal notice sent by registered mail to all the building owners. that would be included in the updated or expanded footprint. So that's at the very tail end of what might take a year and a half to do some prospecting. In other words, reaching out to the greater community, finding out, or talking about the benefits of building owners joining the BIA, and identifying those building owners who would be interested in being part of the BIA, and then basically, depending on where that support was, we'd draw a boundary line around them to capture them, and then that would be the proposed expansion. So at its greatest level of expansion, that would include, and this is based on the 2015 McSweeney report, it was recommended that we look at the very beginning at the entire urban service area. But obviously, we have to have a certain amount of buy-in in order to do that, and that would be our goal. And over the course of 18 months, we, depending on the feedback, we'd revise that boundary so that we would have a majority.
Okay, good. Any other questions, council colleagues? So what I understand you to be saying is early efforts are being made to explore feasibility, viability, desire among a larger business community to potentially be part of the BIA at this stage?
Yeah, at the end of September, we took the very first step, and that is striking an expansion committee, and it's yet to be populated. So in the new year, there will be an information meeting for people to come and find out a little bit more about the process and the benefits of joining the BIA. From there, we've got to hit the ground, hit the sidewalk, knock on some doors, and talk to building owners and gauge the level of interest. And then at some point, we will stop that legwork and draw a boundary and then go through the formal process of sending registered letters looking for buy-in. And it's an opt-out program, so depending on who's within the area defined, we could not entertain more than 33% saying no, not interested.
Okay. Councillor Chrétien?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Deputy Mayor Barclay. So just to confirm, the limits or the boundaries have not yet been determined? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so you're going to base that new boundary on interest in participating in the BIA?
That's correct.
So it could be as large as you can imagine it to be effectively?
Well, the McSweeney report in 2015 laid out two scenarios, well, three scenarios. Status quo, which is not viable, it's not sustainable, because we're among one of the smallest footprints of, there's hundreds of BIAs, there's many just in the Ottawa area alone, which means we have very little resources to work with in order to promote the building owners and offer them benefits through the BIA. So the McSweeney report said the status quo was not viable. The second option they suggested was expanding into what's called the triangle. So right now the BIA footprint is Clothier between Rideau and Barnes, approximately, south down Prescott to Home Hardware, which is right across from the old high school. And in the opinion of the consultant at the time, they said that would increase the resources that we'd have. It would almost double our budget through the levy, but still it wasn't sufficient to do the kind of work that I think would make the BIA very attractive to businesses in terms of the kinds of services and marketing opportunities it could provide. So the third option was to take a look at the entire urban serviced area and see if we could get a majority to opt in. But I think there is danger in the sense of going out there and not succeeding to get at least 66% buy-in. So there's got to be at least a year of creating a expansion strategy plan about how to market the BIA to the greater community, and then define a footprint that would work. As if it fails, that's it. There is no BIA.
Is there a magic number of businesses participating that you're interested in seeking? The urban serviced area is effectively what most people would recognize as Kemptville, as urban Kemptville, right? That's a fairly significant area and a big change from the current BIA footprint. So I'm just wondering if any thought has been given to that, or if that's still the work of the committee.
It'd be the work of the committee, but there has been work done prior to 2018. There was, to the council at the time, an expansion prospectus was presented in which we looked at the entire urban service area as being the boundary of an expanded BIA. And what that told us was that we would be able to lower the levy, and it's based on the building assessment. We'd be able to lower the levy from, like, I think it was $2 at the time to $1 per thousand dollars of assessed value, and still result in a budget strictly sourced from a levy of $113,000. In 2018, the levy was $25,000. So that was barely enough to cover a part-time executive director and have a few dollars left to promote events or joint marketing opportunities. So where we are right now is we're relying on revenue from Busker Fest, we're relying on grants from the municipality and some sponsorships to get a budget close to that. So if the businesses see value in an expanded BIA, then the entire BIA could be funded strictly by the business owners, the building owners within the urban serviced area.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Deputy Mayor Barclay. This McSweeney report in 2015, that's 8 years ago. I'm wondering a couple of things. Were there any other recommendations from the report that have been actioned so far? And the other question I have is, how valid is that? It's 8 years old. There's been changes in business practice, changes in the businesses in the downtown, and some of them have turned over, and there's new businesses. So I'm just wondering if that report remains valid 8 years out?
I think it does, in terms of pointing to expansion as making the BIA sustainable. In terms of the numbers, every year the Department of Finance provides us with what the levy is going to be. The BIA determines a budget, and then it's sort of reverse engineered into what each building, the levy for each building within the footprint is. So property values increase. So over the last 8 years, as even within this very, very small footprint, the value of the properties have increased somewhat. So what it's meant is that with a stable budget, the levy is actually decreased. I mean, per thousand, and I've probably confused everyone with that. So if to get a budget of $25,000 in 2018, we had to charge $2 per thousand of assessed value to get the same budget of $25,000 in 2020. The levy per thousand would have reduced to 1.25, somewhere around there.
Okay, I understand that,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't want to increase the $25,000, like you're just reducing the levy and bringing in the very same amount of money. And like that's, and hence the BIA continues to come to the municipality to support them financially with grants and with Busker Fest, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm wondering, you know, should you have reduced the levy or left it at the $2 per thousand?
Well, again, that's a calculation the finance department makes. I think what you're really asking is, should the BIA increase its budget? In other words, instead of having,
Be more self-sufficient?
yes, well, that would mean that the building owners within a very small footprint would have to,
Pony up more money?
yes.
So that's why I think the expansion makes sense to me. Whether it was the entire urban area of Kemptville or not, that would be up to the BIA and some of the businesses. Like, if you look at the malls, would they want to be part of that? The other question I had were there any other recommendations from that report in 2015?
It strictly dealt with expansion.
Okay.
Well, and in fact, the goal was to look at how the BIA could be sustainable, and the recommendation was to either expand into the triangle or to expand into the urban serviced area.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, I will ask Deputy Mayor Barkley, would you like to move that the following Old Town Kemptville Business Improvement Area Board of Management meetings be approved as circulated for both September 7th and September 27th, 2023?
Yes, I'd like to move and also add that everyone is invited to the AGM at the library on November 30th, 7 o'clock.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank
Looking for a seconder, please. Councilor Strachan, thank you. I will call the question on that vote. All in favor, please. Good. All right. Thank you for your work. Appreciate it. Now, I think we are just looking. We are to other business, if I'm not mistaken, and I do not believe we have other business this evening. So we'll move to notice of motions. Colleagues, any notice of motions this evening? Not seeing any. Introduction and consideration of bylaws. I believe we've handled that. Ms. Preston, questions from members of the media? Come on. Welcome, Jen.
Far be it for me to keep us here longer tonight. However, I do have a quick question. I believe this is directed to Karen, CAO. In terms of the wastewater pollution control plan, I understand that the expansion has been phased over multiple years. Could you tell me the estimated total cost of that project?
Through you, Your Worship. We have estimated, well, yes, we have started doing the phase. Phase one is estimated at roughly $60 million. The next phase, we will have to see what the market conditions, supply and demand, et cetera, are. So we're trying to phase it, take it down into more manageable bite-sized pieces. That way maybe we can save money, wait for the world to come back out to some sort of balance.
Is phase two being done in 2024? Or phase one, sorry.
Through you, Your Worship. So phase one is, yes, it will be started in 2024. So what you heard this evening was the hydro relocation component. The next phase is some actual work in the physical buildings and treatment processes, which will start in 2024. I do not have how long it is planning to run for that specific phase here this evening.
Would it be multiple years, though, for phase one?
Yes.
To put you on the spot, sorry about that. And there will be a second phase
That is correct.
to complete. Do you have like an estimated timeline on the completion for the expansion?
I do not have that this evening.
Okay. With the 60 million for phase one, is there money in that considered to be pitched in by the Ministry of Corrections?
We have many components, through you, Your Worship, sorry. We have many components that we are using as revenue to cover off that specific phase. There will be some debentures, there's some grants and financing that we've been able to secure, although that be minimal, but yes, there is still an anticipation of a commitment for the proposed facility.
So the anticipated commitment is still considered in the phase one budget?
It is still considered within the design component with which is out for tender.
Okay. With all the new development going on in basically Kemptville, the urban service area, is the allocation that a lot of these massive subdivisions getting, is that taking into account that we don't know when the completion of the expansion of the wastewater control plant will be finished? That's a
Again-
long-winded question, I'm sorry, Karen.
That's all right, Jen, and through you, your worship. The wastewater treatment plant and the engineering evaluation, so the commitment of capacity is done on a quarterly basis. The commitment of capacity that can be provided at this point in time is available capacity. So as we go through in these developments, such as what we see just west of town being developed, they have a certain value of committed capacity under the existing plant as it sits today. So the expansion is for the future, for other developments that have not come to the table for full development proposals, have not come to the municipality for committed capacity. So what is committed now is for what the current footprint of the plant can provide.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Ms. Westendorp, you're done, I presume? Good, okay. So with that, we appreciate your interest and look forward to certainly communicating more once we get the tender back and it is considered and likely approved by council. But in the meantime, hang tight and we'll go to close the meeting. So confirmation bylaw 10623 to confirm proceedings of council at its regular meeting held on November 7th be adopted and passed. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Sullivan, Councilor Barclay, thank you. Calling the question, all in favor, and motion to adjourn at 7:41. A bit remarkable for us. Very pleased to see that. And that we'll look to Councilor Stracan, Councilor Sullivan to move in second adjournment at 7:42 p.m. All in favor? Good. Thank you for your time. Meeting adjourned.